open, which will look like a basic event. Now, once you have the event and you're ready to go, you're going to need to click this start button when you're ready to open the Hangout about 15 to 10 minutes before the session starts. So you'll want to click the start button on your event, and when you do, a window will open, which will look like mine here, and it will show your face, hopefully, and you want to make sure your lighting is good. Now, there basically are 3 steps that you want to follow once you open your Hangout, and I'm going to show you those here. The first is you want to note that the web address for joining the Hangout is at the top of that screen, and you want to copy and share that so that people can join the Hangout. And second, there's a little button at the bottom you need to click so that you can share the YouTube link, which is where the live stream is going to be. And then when you begin the session, you actually need to click Start Broadcast. But I'm going to go ahead and do this so you see how it looks when it's done. Up here, I've got the web address, which is at the top of the screen here. I'm going to copy it. And then I go to the schedule, which is the Google Doc that we have been working with for some time together. This is the Google Doc, and I have the join link, which is the one at the top of the page, and I'm just going to paste it there. When you do it, it automatically turns green and makes the link visible. And from this moment, people can follow this link to join the Hangout. The second link we need to copy is the YouTube link, which is this one here, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm here in the bottom right, and I'm going to go ahead and go here and paste that here so that people can watch the video either after the event or right in a live capacity right away. So that's really all that's involved to set up and do a session. Just to quickly review, you need to open a Hangout, Hangout on air, copy the web address and paste that in the Google Doc. You also need to copy the YouTube address so people can watch the Hangout, and then you click Start Broadcast when you're beginning to actually start recording the session. Okay? In summary, that's basically the whole story. And to look at the schedule, if you just want to read-only view, you can see that at the TEDxRainier.x page. A few tips to all of your attendees who are in the room and for yourself as well. You want to make sure that everybody has a good internet connection, and that it's a great idea to use headphones. Go ahead and keep yourself and suggest that other people keep themselves on mute in the Hangouts except when speaking. Make sure your lighting is good. And using the chat window is also a good idea. Just to show you, see quickly what some of the features are. There's this button here that allows you to screen share, and the top button here, this blue button, allows you to activate and hide a chat window in the right sidebar. Okay, well, that's really it for a super basic, super quick run through of hanging out with TEDx organizers. It's going to be so much fun. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We can go over any details you need to, and look forward to being together in a few days.
On all of those points when you're chatting at once, but what I to move forward now is to talk about that word permission. You've all been sort of mentioning, you know, how much this is sanctioned by the courts and whether or not people are allowed to do it. Let's face it, in any other country, almost any other country in the world, if you killed your mother or your daughter or your sister, you would be sent to jail. How is it that this feeling of preserving honor has become so important that it's overriding love and it's overriding what in most other countries would be viewed as murder? And I'm going to put that to Adil Shahzeb from the Urdu service here at the BBC, just to give us a broader context to that, and then I'll let you ladies come in with your very important points too.
Yeah, if I can, it's pretty hard to sum up some of these points raised by Phyllis and Tahira, and to answer your question as well, I would say the way they think is woman is the property of men and men is superior to women. You know, that just sums up the whole scenario. And if you think that men is superior, then obviously whatever women say, she can't have her say in her education, where she wants to go, who she wants to marry. It's all about imposing your will on her. It's all about him, not about her. This is the problem.
A woman killing her brother or her husband or her son would be treated as a murderer.
You can't imagine. I mean, you can't even imagine a sister killing her brother. That will become a very unique news in such a society. But it's all to do with a father killing daughters and brothers killing sisters, and for all these honor sort of reasons. So the basic thing is it comes down to education as well at the same time, because when the literacy rate goes up, obviously things like these things can settle down. But at the same time, when Phyllis mentioned Samia Sarwar, I mean, I've known the family personally, very educated family from Peshawar.
The mother was a doctor.
Yeah, and her dad was the president of Chamber of Commerce, a very well-known businessman. But what they did to their daughter is obviously unacceptable. And again, there is a question mark whether even the education and higher literacy rate can stop these things. So, the problem is, it is growing, and it's not calming down these situation. And obviously, what happened today is absolutely, condemnable. But when you see things, comments on Facebook, comments like what happened to her is that was her fate, she shouldn't have done this, she shouldn't have brought this and that to their family, so these things obviously we need to consider in mind at the other side as well, that what they think why honor killing is the right way to do.
When Phyllis said that the love of the family, the daughter, the relationship, all goes beyond when there are lots of more factors that influence. In fact, honor killing is not always for the sake of love. There are many more underlying incentives for that. For example, in the tribal areas of Saint Balochistan, they do have a feud with someone to settle. They would find, whenever they come across their enemy, they find the enemy around, they kill the male, drag the body home, and then see the first woman the first woman they say would be shot, and then they would declare in their tribe that they have found a man from another tribe coming over, defying their honor, and therefore they have killed both who were involved in this such illicit relationship. So it's not all about the honor which they think the girl has done something to spoil. Even if she hasn't done anything, they use this as a weapon for their own gains and for their own benefits. So when you were talking about the spectators and not intervening and not stopping them, it just reflects the mindset.
I want to bring in Phyllis because she is a feminist psychologist who's written a lot about this. Yes, Phyllis, do come in. Tell us a bit about your research into the cultural acceptance, which is what Fahanda was just mentioning there.
I agree with it. First, Hindus will perpetrate honor killings for if you marry outside your caste. That's the main problem. And about 40% of the time in one study that I did, they killed the boys or the men as well as the girls or women. Muslims next door in Pakistan and in the West will perpetrate honor killings. And as I said, they're collective conspiracies by families for a wide variety of reasons, ranging from a false rumor she was seen talking to a boy, worse yet, talking to an infidel, worse yet, wanting a higher education, very bad indeed, not properly jailed, in addition, refusing to marry her first cousin, or running away from that marriage that she didn't want, and or choosing a man on her own. There are very many reasons, all of them amounting to the slightest infraction of disobedience as perceived by the tribal, ethnic, cultural, and religious culture. And we've just now also heard that indeed, in Samia Sarwar's case, very politically powerful, educated family. There are many cases that I've studied where the families are illiterate and impoverished, and many other families from the Muslim world and in the West that are very, very wealthy. There's a very high-profile case that was prosecuted in Canada of an Afghan family, and I lived in Kabul. I was married to a man from Afghanistan, and I have some personal knowledge on the street, so to speak, of life there. And the Shafia case in Canada, a man, very multimillionaire, his second wife murdered 3 biological daughters, With the
It
help
sounds
of
like
the-
another
of our
horrific story, Phyllis, but we're coming up towards our news summary, so we will have to leave that there. I know you're going to stay with us along with Fahanda to continue our discussions about women's issues in the second half of the programme. We're talking about the Yes All Women hashtag, also those photos of Kate Middleton's bottom that have emerged. But thank you so much to all of our guests talking about this story coming out of Pakistan, this so-called honour killing. Adil Shahzeb, Amna Zafar, Phyllis and Fahanda and Tahira, thanks so much for joining us here on World Have Your Say.
Documentaries on the BBC World Service.
A profile of dancer and choreographer Idrissa Kamara.
I dance stories, I dance my history, I dance my past. I was born in Guinea, West Africa. I live in Cardiff in South Wales. But that is only part of my story.
We visit him at his Welsh home, working with his newly formed dance company Ballet Nimba, and hear about his passion for African dance.
He can fluently speak 6 or 7 languages. He knows all these rhythms and dances. I mean, there's hundreds of them.
Why do I dance? That is my identity. It's that of who I am.
Idrissa Kamara, online from Wednesday at bbcworldservice.com.
In the next 30 minutes on World Have Your Say, we're discussing the hashtag Yes All Women. It was started in response to a man in California who posted videos threatening to kill the girls who'd rejected him and then went on a shooting spree there over the weekend. And we want your reaction to a photo of the Duchess of Cambridge's bottom that's been printed by a German tabloid. Tweet us on the hashtag WHYS.
BBC News with Stuart McIntosh. European Union leaders are starting their first meeting after elections that saw populist and far-right parties strengthen their position in the parliament of the 28-nation bloc. The outcome has led to calls for a rethink of the EU. Arrived at the talks in Brussels, the French President, François Hollande, said Europe must take heed of what had happened, while David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, said the EU couldn't carry on as before. Ukraine has summoned the Russian chargé d'affaires to protest against what it described as an incursion by armed terrorists from Russia. President Putin has meanwhile called on Kiev to stop its operations against pro-Russia separatists in the east of the country and start talks with them. His call came after the Ukrainian government troops recaptured Donetsk airport from the gunmen. Cameroon has deployed about 1,000 troops to its border with Nigeria in response to the growing threat of the Islamist group Boko Haram. A Defence Ministry spokesman said the troops would carry out reconnaissance missions and return fire if necessary. The Egyptian Election Commission has told the BBC that the country's presidential election has been extended by a day. The decision comes after a lower than expected turnout in the 2 days of polling that was originally due to end within the hour. President Barack Obama is expected to announce plans to leave nearly 10,000 American troops in Afghanistan, even after most of the soldiers pull out later this year. They'll train the Afghan army and, when necessary, mount counter-terrorism operations. Officials in Poland have decided that General Wojciech Jaruzelski will be buried in Warsaw's historic Pulaski Cemetery on Friday, despite widespread opposition. Critics say General Jaruzelski does not deserve to be buried at such a prestigious cemetery. BBC News.
Hi, this is Michelle Hussein from BBC World News. Welcome to World Have Your Say, live from the world's newsroom at the BBC.
You're with World Have Your Say, the programme where you set the agenda, and we are live for another 30 minutes discussing the hashtag Yes All Women. It's been trending in various countries since the weekend after videos by a man who went on a shooting spree in California emerged, showing him threatening to slaughter the girls who'd rejected him in the past. And before the end of the programme, our guests and many of you who'd like to get in touch will be reacting to that photo of the Duchess of Cambridge's bottom that's been printed by the German tabloid Bild. It was apparently taken when wind blew up her dress on a recent visit to Australia's Blue Mountains. I'm Maddie Savage. You can tweet me and the programme team on the hashtag WHYS.
Find out more about World Have Your Say.
bbc.com/World Have Your Say.
Well, as we've been saying, the hashtag #YesAllWomen has been getting a lot of attention. It was started over the weekend after 22-year-old Elliot Rodger went on a shooting spree near the University of California, Santa Barbara, killing 6 people. Then videos and messages that he posted online ahead of that suggested that he hated women. He was a virgin. He talked about feeling lonely, rejected, and having unfulfilled desires because girls weren't attracted to him. What he said in one of those videos: "I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up blonde slut. All those girls that I've desired so much, they have all rejected me and looked down upon me as an inferior man." Well, after that, the hashtag #YesAllWomen was retweeted by thousands of people criticising his attitude. So what does his attitude tell us about the way women are treated in the US? Well, we've got a few more guests joining us for this hour. Phyllis Chester is staying with us. That's our feminist psychologist that we heard in the past half hour. Also joining us, Soraya Chimali, a media critic and activist who focuses on the work of gender in culture. Jessica Valenti, feminist author and columnist for The Guardian here in the UK. And later we hope to talk to Sasha Weiss from The New Yorker. Let's start with you, Soraya. What you've made of the hashtag #YesAllWomen, what tweets that you've been reading in the past couple of days?
Well, I think that the hashtag really indicates a kind of tipping point in a realization that women are leading a sort of parallel existence. And you can see from the stories, there's stories of everyday harassment, everyday fear, the adaptations that women all over the world make because there's this male sexual entitlement that we live with, that we try and keep ourselves secure from. It was not limited to that, because you could see that the hashtag was being used to tell stories that were much broader than that, but that was certainly the gist of a lot of the messages.
Jessica, do you want to pick up?
Sure, I agree, and I think one of the reasons that the hashtag really took off was that the language that Elliot Rodger used in this manifesto, this 140-page manifesto of sexual entitlement, that had so much sexism and misogyny in it, the language felt very familiar to a lot of women. It's language that we've heard every day. It's language that we get, in hate emails or on Twitter, and I think that women are fed up, and this hashtag is sort of them saying enough is enough.
Who was that trying to come in there? I can hear someone coming in. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It was Soraya. Yes, I think Jessica and I are agreeing about this. It's really very notable to me as part of the fact that this continues today. People are sending messages every few seconds that the originator of the hashtag, and she did it explicitly to provide a space for women to respond to another hashtag, which was not all men, which is a very, very common response when women try and explain what they're objecting to. She did it in response to that, to create this space, and she ceded from Twitter because she was fearful and because it was anxiety provoking. And that too is part of the narrative of what the hashtag is about, right? Because there are many people, this morning I've been flooded with messages from women who are grateful for this conversation, but they are feeling stress and they're feeling anxiety. Many women aren't saying anything. They're reading these things and saying, thank you for saying these. Things. So, the three of us that you have on the phone right now tend not to mince our words. I
want to hear read you some. These are a collection collated by the New Yorker. Hashtag yes all women, because I have a boyfriend is more effective than I'm not interested. Men respect other men more than my right to say no. Another one, because I've already rehearsed, take whatever you want, just don't hurt me. Hashtag yes all women, because every time I try to say I want gender equality, I have to explain that I don't hate men. And men's greatest fear is that women will laugh at them, while women's greatest fear is that men will kill them. That's a quote from Margaret Atwood, on the author, also on the hashtag yes all women. Let's put that to our guest in Pakistan. We've been hearing about this killing in America, a country where we'd imagine women to have a lot more freedom than they do in some other parts of the world. What's your response to these messages being shared and retweeted?
Well, my response to these messages it's very, very discouraging to hear that places where women think and feel that they're quite liberated, they have their own liberties to express, to say, and to act. Over there also, there's such a degree of dislike and hatred being inflicted upon women, and such kind of messages being promoted. Probably the psyche, the mindset of men is similar at a level where perhaps they think alike, they react alike, and there's no reason for such harsh reactions and for such harsh language. Here in Pakistan, when somebody dresses up in an untraditional manner, for example, dresses up in jeans and story that is being heard has created
Hi, Michael.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2.
Michael, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, cool. You're the first person to arrive. So congratulations.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, if you speak a bit louder, maybe.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, I can.
There we go. I have got my headset here, and I wasn't positive what time it was going to start. And if they're live on the air, do we need to mute microphones?
Yeah, if you look at the
instructions.
The instructions, I suggested mute. I just switched the microphone on because you're there.
Okay.
And I'm actually not sure how we're going to handle this because it's going to be. I've just switched my radio player off now so we can have this conversation. But obviously, if I switched it on again, then I'd be listening to the radio and you at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's probably not good.
So do you listen to Digital Planet and Click regularly then? Is it part of your week?
It's actually part of my podcast routine, so I usually hear it afterwards, but I'm working at home today again, and I often am at my office at this time, but I just saw your link and I thought I'll just give it a try.
Yeah, because I'm also a podcaster, but I just thought, and one of the things I've noticed is this sort of curious thing where they introduce like the pre and post broadcast content. I quite like that, and I suppose it's quite possible that we can be integrated into that rather than the live because obviously the live broadcast is a bit of a higher standard, right?
Yes, that's their time and it's all scripted. But there could be some. You're right. There could be some podcast extra opportunities. I think the problem though is that it always seems like Colin is chasing everyone out of the studio. Maybe they have it scheduled for something else.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
a little bit limited.
Yeah, for me the good thing is that between this week and last week, Gareth and Bill have picked up on this and they're writing about it on the Facebook group. So yeah, and there are a few other people now who've signed up that they're going to join, and. I'm just curious. I'm just curious because I can't do this every Tuesday evening, so it's like for me. What time is it where you are?
It's a little afternoon, 12:05.
Yeah. I mean, so this isn't. Yeah, but it's actually not that hard to do this. I was following instructions because I'm involved in the TEDx community, and we have these sort of global events where people and it's quite a lot of management. They produce these complicated Excels with different times and different time zones for people to do their workshops. But yes, it's complicated. Someone has to spend an hour or two putting that together. But if you compare that with the cost of a global get-together, it's like 10,000 times cheaper. So, I think for me, part of the attraction is like using these technologies to do stuff that was never previously feasible. And I like this show, but I don't. Maybe an outcome. I don't know. Maybe the thing to do is to have the hangout after the show rather than during it.
That might be a good point because people could discuss the content if they wanted, or have some follow up. And
are you on the Twitter feed? Because I'm not very good at Twitter, and I think was it you who was saying last week that we should be tweeting at the same time?
It was not me. I think it might have been Stu. But
that's right.
I do have a Twitter account, but I use it rarely.
Yeah, because I think it'd be quite good if there's something going on the Twitter feed to because I have a Twitter account, but I never use it. Although I know people who use Twitter all the time, but I'm just not one of them.
Excuse me. All right. Yeah. Did you participate in the European Parliament elections?
I'm feeling very guilty about that because I was like I'm a foreigner living here in Poland, and I
Where do you call home?
I believe it's quite complicated to go through all the bureaucracy of registering as a foreigner to vote, and I'm sure that I could have. And recent events to the east of Poland and the Ukraine have been reminding me of, if there are other people ready to risk their lives for the right to right to vote and being shot down in the street, then I really ought to get around to it, but I didn't. So I'm yeah.
The
So
election results are getting some good press here in the States. So
yeah. Well, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that, given that this is going live on YouTube and will be recorded forever, and I want to build a community, perhaps it's not the time to start expressing strong political views.
Let's talk about that. So the Google Plus Hangouts then are recorded for YouTube for later consumption. Is that an option, or is that something?
It's an option. It's an option.
Okay.
And I've chosen that option. And if you look at the instructions I posted, there's a YouTube link as well. In fact, you could try clicking on that. I don't want to do it because I don't want to sort of mess up my host status.
Right.
But if you go to either the Facebook page or the other page, the Google Plus page, Digital Planet Listeners Group, I think it is,
right.
Then you might find there's a YouTube link, and I'd be quite curious to know whether that's actually working. But I think what happens is when I stop broadcast, it then spends a few minutes sort of munching away in the Google data centers and then produces a Google. And in fact, there's going to be like an hour of content of just like me having my supper because I set it up early because I was concerned about having a challenge. So if it all works and it goes live on YouTube, then I'll just post a link at the bottom saying start at 90 minutes in or whatever.
I've used Google Hangouts, but not Google On Air.
Yeah,
so
well, I learned about it. If you look at the chat. Have you got the chat box on the right-hand side of the screen?
I do.
Yeah, if you look at there's two stories there, then I saw this young girl, Daria Musk, at TED Global, describing how she went from sort of living in a village in a forest to being globally famous thanks to doing, it's quite an unusual TED talk, but it's worth watching. And she was then, the Google Live on Air means that once you go above the maximum number of people who can participate two-way, you can have one-way participation, so people can watch even though they can't join, which gives you which basically turns you into a TV show, if you've got the audience.
I do participate sometimes with Google Hangouts with Universe Today. They do a weekly discussion on astronomical topics, and also there's a recording of Astronomy Cast. So they have an astronomer and an interviewer, and each week they use the Google Chat or Google On Air to video record their podcast recording, and then they take questions from the audience afterwards, and then they go out and they have quite a large distribution on their podcasts. So I'm familiar with it. I use it with my family once in a while as well, too.
Yeah, and I tend to. I sometimes talk to members of my family on FaceTime and Skype, and but generally time's at a premium. And for quite a lot of people I work with use Skype, and but I work with Google here in Krakow, and I was just in the Google office, and they were complaining that someone for a conference call next week wants to do things on Skype, and Google prefer to do things on Google Hangout for obvious reasons. I don't think it really matters, but I just think these are just technologies. If they work, that's fine. If they don't, it's not fine. What is your job, by the way? We might as well get to know each other.
I'm a hospital finance administrator.
You're a hospital
finance administrator. So I do contracting with physicians for services and various payments and so forth.
Okay, so you're part of the expensive American healthcare bureaucracy, right?
I have been so for 30 years this August.
And how is that? How is it as bad as everyone says, or is it like just media anti-propaganda?
No, it's quite expensive. We have we do have a system in place though. If people are without means, then there are services available very quality services available.
Mm.
But in order to afford them, we have to raise our insurance. Sorry, we have to raise our charges so that people with insurance wind up subsidizing those who don't have it.
Mm.
And so that raises the costs for those who can afford it. But if you can't afford it, we have means to treat patients. So.
Mm.
But again, it's based upon cost shifting within our hospital. And these healthcare reforms should provide more insurance for others. So therefore, we should have less cost shifting to do within our hospital, so that we reduce the rates for those with insurance.
Yeah.
In theory. But we do have a very costly system, and we do not have the best outcomes. So it's there's not equity in terms of paying more for better healthcare outcomes. We do still have a lot of issues with inequality, high death rates for children, birth and vaccination rates, and so forth. So there's a long way there's a lot of room for improvement.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it seems like. I'm not really familiar with the system, but I am aware of the fact. I'm aware of the statistics, and the statistics suggest that, if you're a regular middle-class American, then you get pretty good healthcare, which costs a lot that someone else pays for. And but the country as a whole, I think they said that is it $700 or $7,000 of the cost of the car from General Motors is the healthcare of the workers or something like that, which is. It's
an amazing percentage. I think our percentage of our GDP is somewhere in the neighborhood of 16-18% goes to healthcare now. It's still growing. I think for my insurance, my employer pays some and I pay some, and I think for a family of 3, I pay about $10,000 a year for my insurance.
Yeah.
So, around that neighborhood. It's pretty amazing.
I see Stu's just posted something on the Facebook page, but I expect he'll be joining us any moment, I think.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't say he's going to do that. I like innovation. For me, this is just like an experiment, but I.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. No, it's all fun, that's for sure. But you may have a point, though. It might be worthwhile doing a discussion just after the conclusion of the radio program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's see what other people say, and I guess they'll say the same thing. But we also, the 3 or 4 people have signed up, but if they mention it in the of course, if they mention it in the pre-program broadcast, if they mention it when they're live on air, then I would expect quite a. Oh, I just see Gareth Mitchell has joined us. So, hi, Gareth.
Hello. That must be Richard.
That's Richard. Yeah, I'll take my glasses off.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely Richard. Now I recognise you.
Okay.
Good. Hey, excellent. Can you see and hear me?
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Well.
Great. Oh, this is good. Well, fingers crossed it'll work. I tried joining the Hangout last week whilst we were on air, but at the time I was using the BBC's guest network. But good old Bill said if I signed in through the staff network, which I didn't realise I could get an ID for because I'm not staff, he said try that. So he told me how to do it, and I tried it. So so far it's working. So what can I say?
Yeah, congratulations. Well, this is an experiment for me. I've participated in these things where other people have been like the technical team, but I'm working without backup tonight, so I'm quite pleased, and it's nice to see you.
Yeah. So yeah, good. Forgive me, Rich. I've just got Colin saying something in my headphones. Is it not functioning? Hang on, guys. I'm just going to go next door. Be right with you.
I imagine he's a little bit busy. What time does it go on air? 7:30 local time?
I think it's in 13 minutes. I think.
Okay. So he might put us on mute, or he might log off. We'll see. So.
I don't know what he's going to do. I think this is innovation around the edge, and we'll see what he does with it. But I don't know. For me, it's like it's the fact that he showed up. I mean, I'm not a sort of fan club type person, but I like the culture of the show. Like the sort of informality together with serious content suits my personality very well, because and so I guess I'll stick with that too.
Some of the content is of more interest than others to me, so I go back and forth.
Yeah.
Gareth, do you plan to have the camera on during the radio live broadcast?
Well, I wasn't going to change the settings from the way they are now, unless. So Gareth, is what we're saying interacting with the show? Do we have to keep quiet when you're on air or not?
Mate, you'll be all right. What I'll do is mute my speakers during the show, so you guys can yabber away. It'll be fine. If you're up for it, we might even try and get you onto our podcast intro or outro, just for fun.
Okay, that'd be fine.
But it'll be obvious when we're kind of talking to you. So some of the times it'll seem as if we're ignoring you, but we're not really.
That's because we're ignoring you.
I'm used to feeling.
Bill heckling. I don't think Bill's on yet, are you, Bill? But anyway, there he is.
I clicked on the
You're not, yeah. It's at me. Oh yeah. Richard, did you manage to invite Bill?
I don't think. I think if you go onto your Facebook profile or you go onto your Google Plus profile, you'll see there's a link there that he just has to click on to join.
I need an invitation.
We don't need to be friends.
Your request sitting there.
Hang on, I'll look in my inbox. Maybe you've sent me a request to join. I'll just have a look. Hang on. No, yeah, I see. Bill's just requested invitation. I'm now going to invite him. But this is not the only method of joining. I've now invited him. So hi, Bill. But you can also, in fact,
I joined directly from the Facebook link.
Yeah. So there's an open access link you can both click on that gets you there. Oh, something's happened now. Oh, yeah, there's anyway, this is one of the routes, but I've accepted Bill's invitation, or rather I've invited him.
The group, but not the Hangout. God, Google couldn't do UX to face.
This is kind of fun. I feel like I'm in the studio.
Yeah, it's nice.
Very immersive.
So all it's done is put me in an event page, which is very nice, but not actually, it's not the Hangout.
The link is not working for you. Oh, I see. That's interesting. Sorry.
This Apple product doesn't make a difference, does it?
So Steve Clark and okay, so that link doesn't work. Interesting.
But the link further down does. So
the one for
under Stu's.
Are you looking on the Facebook page, or are you looking on the
Google?
The Google
Facebook page, and I'm just joining.
Oh, there we go. Looks like you're joining. There we go.
But so that's on the Facebook page. I'll turn down.
Testing one.
Okay. So you're saying the Facebook one? Oh, hi, Bill. So did you get that from Facebook, or did you get it from?
It's on the Facebook page, but where Stu has posted details. It's under his comment. Oh, there's a further link. Okay, no, I see. There's another link. Okay.
Okay.
You may be getting an
echo. It's the one that Gareth has posted that is leading to the trouble.
Oh, it's my fault then. I've broken the Hangout, everybody.
No, you're just pointing people to somewhere else.
Oh.
Whereas the one that Richard has posted is the link to the Hangout.
Okay, so possibly you should copy paste
No,
to the top of the
right place. There's a sort of page which the Hangout can
landing page.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to do the billboard.
Yeah. So guys, we're just going to record something. So you can stare at me whilst I'm rabbiting on. Better turn you down a bit. So you guys can yabber away. We can't hear you, so I've got my laptop muted. So do we want a billboard, guys?
Yeah.
Right.
I think we do.
In 3.
So there are now 6 of us. We've got
This
Mark.
is the BBC World Service, and I'm Gareth Mitchell with Technology. Today, it's one of the world's scarcest and most valuable resources, but people are mining previously unexploited reserves of it. I'm not talking about a mineral here, but bandwidth. in the frequency spectrum. In the programme, we're talking about plans to use space between TV channels to bring connectivity to currently underserved areas across Africa. We will tell you all about that after this bulletin of World News. Is that all right? Good.
Right, we should focus on the programme and not those people.
Yes.
Not that I don't love them.
Not that we don't love you guys, but we're just conflabbing between ourselves. So that I've just recorded with the bit that goes out before the news. And sometimes I screw it up. So record that bit. The rest of it's live though.
So you'll tell us when you start the podcast, the pre-broadcast podcast bit, will you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have to behave ourselves.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
We can always edit you out.
Exactly. There's going to be a bit of an echo ramp.
I wrote a message here saying greetings, but I realise if I hold it up, it comes up in mirror writing for you guys, doesn't it?
No, it's good.
What that says is greetings, Digital Planet, Bill and Gareth from Krakow, Poland, but it's in mirror writing, so if you've got a mirror to hand, you can read that.
I see it's loud and clear.
It's actually the right way around for us.
Yeah. I'm not good at writing in mirror.
It wasn't mirror writing for us, it might be for you.
Oh, so you read it well? It was okay. Cool.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Yeah. Just going to grab something here. Might try and involve the Hangout. Can you hear them on the mic? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
I think that might be an idea. So I'll do most of the intro without it, and then I'll just pop the speaker. So it'll be a bit echoey and weird, but it'll only just be whilst those guys say hello, and I'll get rid of it again. Yeah. Okay. And I'm just putting something else up here. Intro. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what would you like me to say apart from he's faffing around over there, but hey, it's not like we're going on air in 5 minutes' time, is it?
No.
Okay.
And his serious haircut.
Just want my money's worth. That's all.
Yeah, could I ask people who are on this, who can hear me to introduce
Greetings, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 27th of May, 2014. Bill could have winced like that. Became a little bit strong, didn't I? It
was a little bit energetic. We're just sort of moodling around in the studio waiting to go on air, and suddenly it's the high energy Gareth. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I'm excited you're about to go on the radio. But I'm also just a little bit chastised because Bill, the listeners, is not happy.
Gareth, why are the listeners not happy? What have you done?
Jeremy Pope on Facebook says, I just been listening to about instant voting in Estonia. If you remember, Bill, that was the representative of the electronic voting committee.
Yes.
Jeremy says, I can't believe, Gareth, you said PIN number twice. A week away from Bill, and this is what happened.
His true standards have fallen.
Brian Corcoran said, just to bring the point home, says, ATM machine next. And obviously what I'm complaining about is that you just have to say PIN, personal identification number.
You need an ATM.
And it's something that when I hear people say PIN number, I shout and somehow I just get my head around that. Estonian voting.
I think it is a week away from me, and it's just, it starts to fall apart for you.
I'm afraid.
But with your shiny new haircut, I'm sure things will be fine this week.
The guy who cuts my hair says, I want my money. And that's what I've got. Just before
you only see you, Gareth. If only the way to see your haircut. Yeah,
there's some magical technology to make that happen.
We can dream. Or
you tell the listeners what other listeners are doing right now.
Or we can join the Google Hangout. I have my laptop, Gareth has his laptop, there's more technology you can shake a stick at in the studio, and
so that little bit of us talking back to ourselves, going into the Hangout and back out of it again, and listening to it without headphones. But we do have who's joining us on the Hangout? Just your names out here.
Okay, it's Richard in Krakow, Poland.
Richard in Krakow, Poland. Who else is there?
Michael from Denver, Colorado.
Who else do we have?
Steve from Bedfordshire in England.
Greeting. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to turn the speakers down on my laptop, partly because we're about to go on air, and it may be off-putting for the listeners. But what you have heard, dear podcast listeners, are your fellow listeners joining in on our Google Hangout. This is Google Plus Hangout. This is something that Richard actually tried doing halfway through our live broadcast last week, and it was exciting. So we said, let's do it again properly this week. So I want you to make note of this. If this works this week, dear listener, we will do this more often, maybe even every week if we get round to it. It's another way of engaging with our top quality content, isn't it, Bill?
Have you really just come up with marketing? Have you talked about brand management?
It's just trying to sound enthusiastic about what we do.
But by the way, if anyone wants to run this next week, next Tuesday evening, I'm doing a TEDx. Oh, we can't hear Bill now.
Exciting radio.
And you accuse me of marketing speak. That could have been right off a press release. Enough of this bickering. Let's have the radio program. This is what happened when we went on the radio this week. Okay, is that all right? Great. Great, I'll turn you back up now, guys. Thanks for that, folks. That sounded good to me. Mike, our studio manager, is a better expert than me as to how that sounded. Did you pick all that up, by the way?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that seemed to work.
Lovely.
Oh, we've got Brazil coming in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, hello. Hi.
This is Mark in South Hello. Superb. I love this.
Yeah.
So in a moment, you'll hear Gareth speaking without moving his lips, because they'll play out the doorbell at the half past, and then it's the news, and then we're actually live on it.
Can you see the script, by the way, guys?
Show us.
They must be about to go on air, right?
Right. In a few minutes, yeah.
We've got 1 minute to go. The countdown. Should we do like a 60-second countdown?
Yeah, we'd find that useful. It would remind us what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's script.
Here they go. Should go live any moment. Oh, the script came up. That's exciting. We can see what they're going to say. Hi, I'm Gareth. Oh, we better behave, right?
But we're still going out, aren't we? Good. Yeah, I'm doing a screen share of the script.
That's very good. We don't need to listen to you anymore.
One of you can read it.
Is anybody listening on DAB radio? Because the reason I say that is that the feed we're getting here in the studio, I don't think is the stream on the world service we're going out on. So we assume that we're broadcasting live. We're going live to somewhere. But if any of you's got access to a UK or European DAB radio, do tell us if you can hear us.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I do like that sometimes. I'll give you some timings as we go along, Bill, when we get into the first item. Is that right?
I've never experienced click like this. Normally I have the podcast version in my bath, so this is quite weird.
You think you find it weird?
Yeah. Who's speaking? Oh, we've got Olafemi. Hi, Olafemi.
Oh, hello.
Barack Obama is expected to announce plans to lead nearly 10,000 American troops in Afghanistan. 9,000 Defense Ministry spokesman said the troops would carry out reconnaissance operations to return fire. The election commission has extended the presidential election by a day.
Yeah. You guys can see the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen.
Within 2 hours. Officials in Poland have decided that General Wojciech Jaruzelski will be buried in Warsaw's historic cemetery.
Have they started?
No, they haven't. No.
Yeah, because my computer says it's 2032, so I thought.
5 seconds. Greetings, everyone. I'm Gareth Mitchell, and this is Click. Today, getting more people connected using frequency spectrum from a rather unlikely source. Also today, a digital memorial to those who served in the First World War. We have games business brains in Finland, and a self-confessed provocateur gets rather disruptive in the world of manufacturing, toys and art. Bill Thompson is here as well, and let's see, ladies and gentlemen, how disruptive Bill is going to be today. Hello, Bill.
Hello there, Gareth. I'll certainly begin.
I'm sure you will. So, comment from Bill as we go along. But first, how do you run a whole university with thousands of students on a 2 megabit web connection? Well, with difficulty, that's the answer. But it is the situation for 2 institutions in Ghana who hope to improve things by taking part in a wireless broadband pilot project. But to make it all work, you need bandwidth. To get bandwidth, you need to use part of the radio spectrum. The trouble is that that is a scarce resource, but the scheme we're talking about is using the so-called white space. Now, this is space in the spectrum that's sandwiched in between television channels. A communications technology company called Spectralink is involved, and it's working with Microsoft and Facebook. There are already similar trials around the world, but these ones in Ghana are among the latest to be announced. Well, just before we came on air, I heard more from Frank McCosker of Microsoft for Africa.
Essentially, the spaces between broadcast channels with the analog
38, 32. Great,
Yeah.
thanks.
We're in some time.
Yes. Now, first of all, is there any item you don't want to talk about? We're going to do all 4.
I haven't
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, the rest, my first quantum break is not that exciting.
So you're
Yeah.
now playing a digital file, right?
It's not that exciting to me.
Yeah. So what Bill means is that you feel that out of all these items, it's the one you would least move on with your expert comment, and it speaks for itself. Okay. Right. Does that mean we'll just do a minute on that, or do you want to skip that and just talk along on the other ones?
We
Or?
might just skip it and talk more about the others. Just go out and
Yeah. Okay.
say about
Okay. Well, I can definitely give you one timing, which is 40:30 into the 40:30 into the top of item 2, and that gives us 2 minutes on this.
ways to provide more access. I'm somebody who uses mobile broadband. I've noticed that if I go into a tunnel, my mobile broadband stops working. I've also noticed when I'm at home watching TV, a building that's made of brick, also a concrete building, signal still connected. So this has a very useful part of the spectrum anyway. It's very, very useful. It's the wavelength, the way you can go over builds. There is somewhat a scientific one, but also it's quite good. So that usable spectrum, this is happening, these trials are happening in many countries around the world. Obvious question is that if you are trying to squeeze internet signal broadband between some of these things, does that cause interference? Does it degrade when people's TV? That's the whole point of technology. Even if you from the analog space, which is pretty enough channel. And we've got very clean signal when it comes to testability. What will it mean for connectivity for millions of people around the world?
Right, I've got some other timings for you, Bill, if that's good.
Yeah.
So it's 48 dead into the midway.
Yeah.
No two-way on Quantum Break. Yeah, I'll tell Mike. Yeah. And then 53:15 into the top of item 4. Although you won't be talking then, so you don't need that timing. But yeah, and the standard shut-up time of 58:50. Yeah. I think that'd be fine. Yeah.
One of the countries from which you've been working is Ghana. You've been working with one of the universities. So just been on
Can you still hear this all right on the Hangout, folks?
Not really. No, we can't. Well, if you look at the chat.
Oh, okay. I'll follow the chat and try and work out.
Yeah.
Richard Lucas, can't hear them, so I'm putting on the radio. Did that work?
Yes.
Oh, good. So you're hearing us off air, are you?
But it's yes, but
it's probably hard. balance both things.
It's quite hard to speak and listen at the same time. Maybe you're good at that.
I think we hear your microphone quite well, Gareth, but Bill is muted.
Oh, they reckon your mic's muted, Bill.
Yeah. That's okay because it saves on getting an echo.
You can have your mic up as long as your speakers are muted. But not if your speakers are muted.
So it's quite well, I'm happy to run you.
Focus. Think about it, yeah. So, So that's Carleen Crimey, and you also heard there from Frank McCoskey, and now you're hearing from Bill Thompson with his thoughts as well. And this seems to be a very nifty use of spectrum that otherwise lies unused.
It is, but, I mean, as always, there isn't actually, it's not as straightforward as perhaps it might look, just because there's concern about interference with television signals. So there's clearly an ongoing discussion about how radio spectrum should be allocated, what it should be used for. The International Telecommunications Union, the ITU, has a massive international conference about spectrum allocation. So the campaign to make TV white space available has been going on for some time. There's been lots of trials. And as always, the concern is it really white space, or is it something that is needed for television? That the separation between the frequency bands used for TV actually matters. The technology is getting better at exploiting that white space, and as we've heard now, there have been a number of trials to demonstrate it can work, but it's still not an uncontroversial area, so we shouldn't assume this is just going to go ahead.
And I wondered if part of the controversy is from people with vested interests, like the mobile phone operators.
Well, they'd be interested only in that as more spectrum becomes available, it's another resource to acquire, and there are cost implications for your business model and all sorts of things. Certainly the fact that the TV white space, because the television channels were chosen to penetrate buildings, to get into tunnels and places like that where they can, obviously it's much better spectrum to have. So there will have to be some adjustment around that. But frankly, we are over time moving to a situation in which data networks are more important than broadcast networks, where internet protocol, IP transmission will underpin everything. And eventually television will go away in the form we currently understand it and be replaced by internet-based broadcasting or narrowcasting. We'll get our signals that way. And this question about what's white space and what isn't will vanish. It will all just be available. All of the spectrum that is available for broadcast will eventually be allocated for internet-type purposes.
Hi, Olivia.
Hello. It'll just take a long time to get there. So.
Eventually. Okay, Bill, thank you very much for that. Now, building a digital memorial to those who served in the First World War. That's the task that Britain's Imperial War Museum has set itself this year, the centenary, of course, of the start of the war. Anybody with photographs, letters, diaries, papers, or other records of family members from Britain or the Commonwealth who served in uniform can share that material via the Lives of the First World War website. Over time, the aim is for the sites to become a definitive resource of information and memories about the conflict. But with up to 8 million individuals documented, a massive task. So is the Imperial War Museum up to it, especially when all that material needs to be verified for accuracy? Well, the digital lead on the project is Luke Smith, and when we spoke, he began by giving me the background to the war. Oh, lovely. Bang on time. Cheers, thanks. Well, 6 seconds over. This whole thing's crashed my computer completely. Right, okay. So should I just kind of wave it in? Nice one.
You want to have one meaning. The way we do that is that computer analysis sees the system.
Do you guys want to give me a green when to start rambling again, or should I just do this? Whatever's best. Are you going to tell me, or should I tell you?
Are you talking to us?
Thanks.
We've got Olivia here. Who's the? So you're up a mountain in Brazil, Mark?
Yeah.
Cool. It's funny old world. And where are you, Olafemi?
Oh, just London.
Cool. Yeah, just if anyone's here who's like watching from around the world, do post in the chat boxes on the right-hand side where you are, because I think it's quite interesting. We've got Denver, Colorado. We've got England. We've got Sao Paulo. But it's Olive in Switzerland. Cool. Quite a global community. London, UK.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, yeah.
France. French part, okay. I've had a few people like sending me requests. Were the instructions I gave you guys clear in terms of how to join the session?
It was clear on the Facebook, yeah.
Good.
Well, the first link was had some invitation, but I got a second link without an invitation to this event.
Yeah.
I don't know if you accept in between, I don't know.
Yeah, I see. Gareth has written something. The Hangout crashed my MacBook. That's what. If you look at the Facebook stream, Gareth has just written that the Hangout crashed my MacBook. So we're actually disrupting his broadcast experience, which I wasn't expecting.
Maybe he doesn't know how to use it.
That's yeah. Yeah, maybe he needs some technical support.
Bill is there.
Do any of you guys have Google Street View where you are?
Yeah.
Okay, another thing you could do would be like posting links of your houses, just as a sort of thing to do, because we can't really hear the show very well, right? I'm not sure what the point of what we're doing. This is an experiment, and I'm not quite sure why we're doing this. So I'm casting around for purposes here. I thought it'd be interesting to discuss the show with people who like the show, but that's quite hard to do when you can't really hear it.
Oh, by the way, is this Hangout recorded or not?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it should be. When I close it, it should go up on YouTube.
Luke Smith.
So don't say anything. Don't say anything that you.
But you've been trying to say you've actually got an account to the First World War website.
I have. A little bit, and I've been using it for a little while. In fact, I'm sort of just at the point of starting to research my grandfather, William George Thompson, same name as me, who did serve in the First World War, and so I want to start to find out about that. And what I've discovered so far is a set of tools that do require a level of engagement. So although you can browse and just click through and find information about other people's histories and stories and things like that, it's only once you start to get into the system that you realise both how rich it is and also particularly how complicated it is. You know, it's something which people who are already interested in genealogy in their family life history and used to using online services, will I think finds complements what they already do. For me, the really interesting thing about this project is the scale of ambition, obviously, that millions of people's lives will be told in this way. And the attempts to create online the sort of memorial commemoration that institutions like the Imperial War Museum have been created in physical buildings for so many years. You know, we've had card indexing and catalogues and exhibitions on walls. What we haven't had is something that lives on the internet, that is of the world. And we heard that from Luke.
Yeah, and they're saying that not even they know fully how it's going to be preserved over the next, say, 100 years. I suppose you just look at the technology as it develops and you just do your best to adapt it so that it can be preserved.
You do, and you talk things like digital preservation technology. You specialise in thinking about the future. And of course, you use also so the well, we started, right? It's not collecting people's testimony and memory and took it itself. Now it's making it available for everybody to look at the results of what they find, and I think that's really quite exciting.
Absolutely, well, thank you for that. This is Crick from the BBC in London, and of course, the expert, Bill Thompson. Well, now let's revisit Finland, as we were there weeks ago, to report on the country's technology scene. And what a time to be there, just as Nokia was selling its mobile, very recent, its mobile handset business, Microsoft. If you missed that very well, it's available via bbcworldservice.com/click. Whilst we were in Helsinki though, another story was ticking over in the world of gaming. That's the trailer for a title called Quantum Break. It's a hotly anticipated title from the Finnish games company Remedy. And it's a collaboration with Microsoft, and it will be a combination of Xbox game and also a TV series. It's due for release in 2015, and whilst we were in Finland, the gaming press and the blogosphere was alive with speculation about the exact release date. But we caught up with Remedy CEO Yuri, and I think he didn't give us the scoop on the release date, but it was still well worth talking. We have plenty to say about the pressures of bringing such an ambitious project to the console and TV screen, and we also had a lot to say in general about the gaming scene in Finland. How are you, Hangout people? Good. I see you've dutifully got your microphones muted. You don't want to inadvertently end up on the radio. But the whole thing...
You missed Mike's out time.
Oh, sorry, guys. What was the out time again? What was the out time? I just had one ear off. Sorry. 53:53. Right.
Oh, that's late.
Yeah, it's about.
Okay, we'll keep it tight at the end. It's fine. I can keep it very compressed.
I think you might have to. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, of course. Everything's all right.
And I have allowed 45 seconds for the go back and do. It probably won't be that long. I think we'll get it like that.
Well, let's see how it goes. Oh, sure, yeah, I apologise. In fact, I think the fan or the drive's come on. Maybe that's what you can hear. Is it like a kind of whirring sound? Okay. I'll move it away from the mic a little bit. Yeah, sorry about that. It's pointing away from you now.
Yeah. You realise you're all being recorded for posterity on YouTube.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
How come I didn't know that?
You didn't realise?
No, even after I asked you the question. Oh,
no, when you signed up for your Gmail account, you agreed to this.
I know that.
Yeah. You can always opt out of using the internet. You don't like these silly rules, right?
Yes, but I don't know. The black building where there's no Wi-Fi, nothing, no internet, not just on the rest of my life.
Jobs and other people said they just kind of close out the smaller players. So.
Hmm.
Your cue, you say optical devices that allow something to be superimposed on the paper. It doesn't actually superimpose, it doesn't put on the paper, it allows it to be viewed superimposed on the paper.
Oh, yeah.
It
I know what
happens
you
in
mean.
your
Yeah, you
eye.
see it through a little lens,
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah.
No,
So it's not really
point.
on the paper.
Yeah.
You can say viewed before
A
superimposed.
view of the subject. Yeah.
Well, or allow a subject to be viewed superimposed on the paper.
Yeah.
Makes it clear what happens in the eye.
Yeah. That's better, yes. Oh, guys, just to let you know, there's no two-way from me and Bill on this. We're just going to go straight to the next item.
Family science is entertaining, but for me it's a more active than but I think this time around doing more and both you do some science and trust that new games start
So there's a good way of ending an interview as well. And by the way, next question. When's that game coming out again? That's Matthias Milleri. Now then, let's talk about Golan Levin. He's a bit of a troublemaker, and I think you'd be okay with me saying that about him. You may never have heard of him unless you're in certain branches of manufacturing, the toy industry, or the art scene. In each, he has opted to provoke. In art, he's mass-produced thousands of so-called camera exhibitors. These are kind of optical devices that allow you to trace around the image of a subject, and you can get more realistic drawing. But he's also been looking at toys, for instance, that infuriating problem. Why can't you combine building bricks from, say, Lego and Fisher Technic? Well, Golan has released files so that people can 3D print universal adapter blocks so you can connect those different systems together. So he's a bit disruptive. He is a professor at Carnegie Mellon University in the United States. He was in the UK recently to speak at a technology meeting where I caught up with him. We're about 50 seconds over, I'm afraid, Maisie.
59.25. 59.25.
I think we are. Sorry, what was that again, Mike? Sorry. Okay, 59.25. Great, cheers. You have the grand total of 20 seconds, Bill. Sorry about that. I mean,
okay.
We could go up to the...
Let me listen. I haven't listened to this, so no, let's just, yeah. We'll think of something to say. So, yeah, 58?
Right, yeah, 59.25, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
How did that happen?
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Mike. I thought we went in at 54. The item was
4:35.
Actually, yeah, it's 4:35, so it would have been 58:35. Yeah, I was a minute out in my calculations. My count entirely. Yeah. I'm afraid. And then I went into it 50 seconds late. So Mike's going to do. Did you get the talk back as well? So we could end up with.
No, nothing. Well, let's see what he's going to do.
Yeah. They'll work somewhat.
The world has afforded me new ways of provoking, whether it's through releasing or bad back. That allows me to kind of put my phone in the eye and show people by benefit things no company therefore come to a need for bigger position. You see a lot of situations where bigger companies allow people to do that. There's some really great heartwarming stories in the book. They're really heartwarming on this side.
their own another outbreak. This ability with their life is really strong. It's a two-way development, which is completely designed just for okay, brilliant. The world is immediately right. You get that as well. Yeah, yeah. I think it's quite open, but it's that in there. Food and tea water, food for you, hydrated water, right? And I predict the kind of future will look completely water. They're not 11, fixing those 3D principles. What are you doing? Is that going to happen? Oh, of course it is. I mean, there's certainly little things that you can do with this like that. We talked about this before, but 3D printing is domestic in some way.